Happy Halloween, everybody. I see a number of people dressed as very thoughtful journalists and reporters who are definitely ready to ask really quick questions on a bye week. So I appreciate those costumes. You guys look, quick answers. You guys definitely look good. Wow. But it's been as you are heading into this week, there is some things that do take place this week. The first chapter of the first half of the season does close, and this to me is always the bridge that you look for heading into the second. And the best way to have sustained success is to keep improving and find these constant improvement spots. Sometimes it's by a player, sometimes it might be a little bit of a scheme, and how do we feature those guys? But at the end of it, it still comes down to like that belief and keep pushing it higher to see where we can take it. And so I'm very excited to get, obviously some of the guys back, who missed some of the game. Hopefully we'll get some of them back next week. But I do enjoy this week to kind of help bridge some areas that you want to improve. You're always kind of looking at your team, but you do get to do a deeper dive this week to get ready. So with all that said, let's get it rocking.
David Moore, Dallas Morning News. You told us coming out of last week's game that a coach called you and said he was going to show film of Micah's play. Did he provide another film yesterday for coaches to show about just staying engaged?
I think so, and finishing, right? And so that was another good play just to see, on the play. It was also a good one, Leighton to come and get the fumble to go. And the funny part of it was Leighton was excited. I don't know if you guys saw that one. So the run is happening past Leighton, after the fumble return, and he's fired up and going. So we'll definitely have some fun with that play. But those are the type of plays that you have to go. And just make your moment, pick, just decide. And so I thought, David, that was another good example of that.
John Shaw, The Athletic, in that interview you did last week with Chris Long, you talk about guys making plays and not chasing plays.
Yep.
How do you think that your guys did yesterday with that, and then how do you think that they've done through these first 8 games?
Yeah, I would say it's probably not a blanket for every person, but as you're going to chase them, you can feel like maybe you're getting out of what you're supposed to do or getting out of your assignment to go to make something. So there's certain players you definitely have freedom. You see something, man, you go take your shot and you go hit it. So we want to make sure that you're not chasing something just because you thought you might have saw something, or I just wanted to go, upfield when I shouldn't have, or not, do the normal technique. So I would say it's probably individualized, by player. One player I thought specifically really had a good game was Curse. I thought he was really on it. Some of the pressures we had to come, his tackling. I thought he was, really one that stayed really consistently within the plan yesterday.
Until before we start talking about, you just talk about your assessment of the run defense. Obviously, they scored 4 touchdowns, but you had problems against the run and with the quarterback. I don't know if that's something that worries you for the rest of the year, or was that unique to this team?
I think more importantly, just allowing the touchdowns, bothered me more than anything. That's, sometimes yards and that, but at the end of it, man, it still comes down to scoring defense, and that's where it's about. That's to me where, when you're talking about what's at the top of the pile, it's points allowed. And so to allow some touchdowns when we feel like you don't have to, that's a number one top of the pile. Yesterday, as far as the run game, there's always obstacles, that you got to do, and for certain, that's one that has to be better. So some are on scrambles, but certainly wasn't a scramble on the long run we had for 36 yards by the running back. And so to me, knowing our fits, making our hits in our run game, that is definitely one of the areas I'm hopeful that we'll attack and address in the very best way.
Were they running against the pass defense? Like they were running when they were down 20. I don't know if some of that was because of you guys were maybe playing pass.
No, not necessarily. I think they're just that committed to it, when they've added the quarterback part of it. And they took some shots down the field. And one thing I was impressed by down the field, plays, we only had one explosive pass, but they did take their shots down the field. I thought really good play by Trey on one on deep ball. There's actually a really good play right before the half on Bland. If you guys remember, like on a corner route in the end zone where he took him across the field and knocked it out. So they definitely had the playmakers to take shots down the field. And so I suspected they would. Coming in, Fields had always thrown a good deep ball. I think I probably hit you guys on that a little bit last week, and I still feel that way afterwards. But as far as some, a 15-yard scramble, a 14-yard scramble, a wide receiver jet sweep for 12, those were the ones that we can get rid of.
Dana Jory, Epstein, Yahoo Sports. What's the challenge of defending the mobile quarterback in today's NFL, and how has that challenge changed since you got in the league, and how has your coaching and response changed since you got in the league?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say my first probably experience came with what is that going to look like. I started in the old NFC West, which at the time was Atlanta, San Francisco, Carolina, New Orleans. So that was when Michael Vick was coming out to get drafted, and I can specifically remember thinking, how do you stop this guy? And so he actually, would you blitz him? Would you do this? And so that was kind of, for me, my first experience of seeing what somebody that quick would look like and how would you defend him. And then through the years, obviously different people with different styles can play, and you better have some defenses where you have eyes to do it. And not only in you're playing man-to-man can somebody go get him, but it has to be somebody that's fast enough to do it. And so, like for instance, yesterday there was a sprint out going one way, and it got guarded, and he came back and just came out the back door. That's a hard play to defend. You're on the front side of the play. Traditionally, sprint pass goes, they throw it, and he goes and leaves the other way. So who has the speed to go back and play him? So it definitely challenges you because it's not you're adding another player into the defense. So it's 11 on 11 all the time. When you're defending somebody as fast and athletic as him.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. How did Bland play? That's the most we've seen of him since
Right.
surgeries,
Yeah, so the big two games he had, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks ago when Jordan was injured, and then yesterday. And so in the man-to-man stuff, I thought he was really rock solid and strong into where we're going now. As we're moving forward, I think guys like he and Damone, although they're into the season longer, they're on the job training is kind of happening now. And so I think as we're going through with those two, they're just going to keep getting better and better as it goes. So Damone played a lot more than we would have thought in his first time due to Anthony's injury, but I thought he really answered that challenge. I knew he was ready to go, but this is a guy who hadn't played in any games and tackled in that, and so I thought those two I see, in the weeks and months ahead of really increasing. I think I might have spoke about it with Sam a week or so ago about that improvement coming, and I think we're going to see the same thing with Clark. We're going to see the same thing with Bland. They're both really committed young guys that are going to fight their ass off to get it right, and I really am excited to see them build on that.
On this bye week, how much do you relook at your rotation of maybe there's certain guys I can't use because of the struggles you've had in the run game?
Yeah, I think you want to go back and look at it all, but you want to find out which packages are most effective and not all in the same style either. And so that's definitely one of the projects for me to make sure, like I said earlier, if you're going to be really good on defense, scoring's number one, but you just want to be rock solid in every single way. And so that to me is one I'm definitely looking at big. And so I thought Adden Hankins was a big piece of that too. And so I thought, for his first outing, he played square and strong inside, and I'm certainly glad that we have him here. I think he's going to add a lot to our defense moving forward, especially inside. He's square, he's strong. These guys are pro, and in 1 week's time, I thought to pick it up and get in and play that many plays kind of shows he's ready to help and contribute for us to do what we want to do.
Todd Archer with ESPN. Have you guys made Micah a defensive end and just not told us?
Some weeks we do, but obviously that's one of the things that really makes him strong. But you saw definitely some plays yesterday. He was back off the ball, playing into some linebacker spots. So different packages help. Sometimes there's 3 D linemen and he's the 4th. Sometimes there's 4 D linemen and he's the 5th. Sometimes there's 5 D linemen and he's the 6th. So having those different packages is important because it also makes the offense have to adjust in some different ways. So as opposed to just saying, well, that'd be, okay, he's over there at defensive end the whole time, but the best version of him does allow him to move around more.
I don't think he's topped out at 26 snaps in a game according to some of the PFFs and things like that. I don't know if you guys count it differently than...
I do a little bit because sometimes when he's at outside linebacker and he might be on the end of the line, he's still playing the linebacker spot. He may drop into coverage and do that. So they may see that, hey, he aligned down on the line and they're counting him as a defensive lineman. But that doesn't seem that far off to me. I would say, 2/3, 1/3 into that space where he's down, he's back, he's inside. And so I think just putting him in different spots, Todd, is as big a key as everything. And some games it's a little bit more, some games it's a little bit less, just kind of depending on the matchup we think we have.
Skyler Dixon with the AP. The defense is a big reason why this team's in a pretty good position right now. You mentioned earlier run defense is one of the things you'd like to attack better, but there are others. What are a few of the other things that you look at as you sort of keep that mantle as maybe there's something this team leans on?
Yeah, I think honestly just continuing to push to create our takeaways. You know, we thought we had an opportunity for 2 more yesterday. One we had a foul on. There was a UNR on Golston that came by in the interception, and I thought it was a good hit by as it came in on the fumble that that we didn't get. I think it was with Curse and Fowler on the left side, and it got overturned to come back to where it wasn't a fumble. But +3 in a game and +1's a big difference. And so finding those spaces to go and create some, that's a big deal. So for me, it's always going to come down to, explosive plays, where are we on that, and can we keep limiting those down? And that's both in the run and the pass, and then finding ways to create some takeaways, because I thought we've done a good job of affecting the quarterback, but I want to make sure there's always space for us to, continue to find ways to take the ball. And one more thing, and then tackling. That to me is, we had 8 missed tackles on the game yesterday, and so that's always something that I'm going to, put a lot of time and effort into. As much space plays as there are in the NFL, I think if you're going to play really good defense, you better have your tackling in order. And so I think that always deserves, I know, like go back to the basics or fundamentals of coach speak. I think it's deeper than that to say, no, if you really want to be excellent, the best of the best have to do those things extraordinarily well, and we'll work our ass off to continue into that spot.
Dan, I know the goal is win the games, don't let them score touchdowns, all that, but for you personally, does allowing passing yards versus rushing yards, like how does one bother you more? No,
not really. I think just explosive plays bother me, whether it's a run or a pass. A score when you didn't have to allow it, bothers me. Oftentimes, I'll look at it and, was it the right call? Could have I put the guys in a better spot to do it? Those are things that usually keep me up more than if it's a run or a pass. There's always, like I said, obstacles to fix, and that's why I think if you're going to be really good, the continue improvement, that's how you get, sustained success, like better and better and better. And so there's always a few things like, okay, this week we want to hit more of this week we want to hit more of that. And as we head into the next, chapters, I called kind of the second half, there'll be some areas to improve. There's not going to be any big wholesale changes, but we will do what we have done better.
Did Golston play? Did he get his hip in his face? Or how did you look at that?
I also went back to the TV copy, and it was difficult to see as he was trying to, knock the pass down. It looked like his arm came down, close to the head and neck area. So it's a real tricky one right now, and we're going to try to work hard to make sure those can leave our game. If you remember, who was it? Maybe Cincinnati. We had 2 UNRs in the game. The next game we played the Giants. We were a little more tentative in tackling Jones, knowing that we had 2 fouls, and this was a scrambling quarterback. What's the difference between batting a ball at the line of scrimmage versus when you're right near the quarterback? And so the hits, it wasn't one where he, put all his body weight or anything on him. I think it was just close to the head and neck area, because some of the hits, there was one on the 2-point conversion. I thought Law really hit him hard and square, but I didn't feel like it was any less big of a hit than Chauncey's was. But I really want to dig into that, because we don't want to lose the yardage and the fouls. We want to play tough and rugged. I know we can do that, but we've had too many of those so far, and I want to really dig into that to find the answer. I don't have a good reason other than it looked like the forearm especially up to the head and neck area. To say it was more than another play, I didn't feel that way, but I'm not saying it wasn't a foul or any of that. Tad can take those fines. But for me, it was, I really want to dig into this to make sure that we're going to get it right, because it's a big deal to, lose an interception or, have a first down that gets extended. It's been kind of going around the league, where we saw ones with Grady and Chris Jones and others, and tackling the quarterback. So I've had times where I called the league for some questions. Can you show me some examples of what you want it to look like? And of course, they were like the nicest, easiest, sacks you've ever saw. I was like, okay, that doesn't really work. But at the end of it, I do want to dig in on it because we want to get it right.
Good.
Anything else?
Thank you.
All right, you guys have a good one.